It's on the air! Woohoo!
Good morning.
Morning. It's Monday morning and it's Memorial Day. Yay! It's great to see you guys. We have our Monday Momentum broadcast for you today, and hopefully, even though it is a holiday and an important holiday, you are still thinking about your business and your life and your career and moving ahead. And of course, you can always watch us on a recording. So you can go out and have your picnic and celebrate the day and remember all of those who have done so much for us so that we could have such a great country and opportunities and actually really a great planet. Because there's lots of people that have done lots of wonderful things in the past to help all of us have what we have today. So yay for Memorial Day, and yay for you for tuning into Monday Momentum. You know our goal is to give you a great start to your week so that you can move into Friday feeling like you really did a great job and move forward. That's sliding into home base. Friday, I get to relax for the weekend, know that I did a great job. So today we have a really exciting topic, interesting and valuable, but first I want to introduce all our guests, our regular guests. So how about Linda, would you start off, say who you are, what you do, and then pass it over to James?
Happy Monday Momentum, happy Memorial Day, and Sarah, you got me looking forward to Friday. But we're going to... Once again.
Don't wet your pants now, Linda. Come on. Get a grip.
So
Well, let's go to James. I think you
are James.
All right, James. Let's calm down. Calm the ladies down, would you?
So is Memorial Day today or was it next week?
It's next week, but it's today because we're recording this.
I know, the 25th.
The 25th.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
No, I for some reason I had it in my head that there, I just froze up. I said it in my head that Memorial Day was like the last day of May, or the first day of June. But so anyway, yeah. So thank you for reminding me that it's Memorial Day.
Yeah, it's Memorial Day, Monday the 25th. The next Monday will be in June, so May is almost over. You're right.
Yeah, I just had it in my head wrong, so glad you reminded me. So, yes, thank you to all those who have served and sacrificed that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have and do what we are doing right here, because there's a lot of places in the world where doing this could get you in a lot of trouble. And we are very, very glad to be here. So, my name is James McFadden. I'm a marketing strategist, and in the process of launching See Me Space 1 week, T-minus 1 week. And also, last week we were talking about mobilizing your site, so we are also launching, this is Southern Utah Influencers, and you can see here, well, let me go to, see now it's got really good mobile-friendly links on it, and it is going to the front page. Anyway, so I'll show that in a minute. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, Linda, you got your composure back? Not yet. That's good. You're gonna have a great week.
No, I'm just not good at faking it.
Oh well.
But happy Memorial Day.
There we go. Okay, thank you. So as you know, all three of us are here every Monday morning to help your business and help us with ours, because we know that being accountable, which means showing up sometimes, other people see you every Monday, they know that you're still working at it, you haven't forgotten, you haven't given up, you haven't checked out. And that's part of what we do for each other and what we want to do for you. So today, our topic is listening. And because you are listening now, hopefully listening well, you're going to get some benefit from this, unless everything we say is something you already know. And that's the idea, that improving your listening skills and actually really paying attention to them if you haven't before can make a big, big difference in your life. And the time that I learned about this most emphatically was years ago when my son, my oldest one, or excuse me, my youngest one, he's 12 now, he was about 2. And we were doing some parenting classes with him, and what we really learned was how to listen to him and pay attention to what he was thinking and what he was doing and what his world was like, instead of spending all the time trying to instruct him, trying to teach him, trying to make him produce something. You know, what color is that? What is that animal called? You know, we tend to drill our children sometimes and put them on the spot, and it's not very much fun for them. And that was the sub lesson of the parenting classes. You know, your kids are going to like you better and relate to you better if they have fun with you once in a while, instead of just feel like you're always asking them to do something, search for the right answer. It's a pressure situation. But part of that was learning to listen to what they said and then respond to it and to join them in their world, instead of try to drag them too soon into ours. You know, they're children. That's the point. Let them have some fun. Let them be children. Don't expect them to act like adults. But the key there for me was learning how to listen, learning some really good skills that have done me a lot of service. And to be honest, I believe, really do believe, that if all of us on the planet took the time to learn how to listen better and tried to do it more, we wouldn't have the problems we have. We wouldn't have the relationship problems. We wouldn't have the business problems. We wouldn't have war, in my opinion, if we could listen to each other. Because all we all are human beings with the same needs and the same wants, and most of those are really basic. I want my family to be all right. I want to live a pretty decent life and know I'm going to have food and a place to sleep. And I want to be heard. Everyone has this crying desire to be heard, and when you can give that gift to someone where they hear you, you are giving a huge gift, because a lot of the time they haven't gotten it, maybe their whole lives. So I'll get off my soapbox. I'd love to hear. James has a story to share with us about listening, and so can we just dive right into it?
I think and I really appreciate your comments. I think where we truly do learn to listen is with our own kids, within our own families, within our own circles, our friends. But where it becomes critical and where it becomes pretty much a win-lose scenario is when it comes to business, when it comes to working with others and trying to attract customers, trying to attract business. And I started to share a little earlier. When I had my construction company in San Diego, we had 28 employees, 4 salespeople, 3 office staff, and most of our guys were out in the field doing the work. But what was really important to us, especially from a sales perspective, and this kind of goes against the grain of that gladiator mentality when you're out there trying to sell and secure business and to close people. We would never, not never, but our philosophy was to not pursue a close on our first appointment or our first meeting with a potential client. And the purpose behind that, the literal purpose behind that, was to get to know them, what their likes, dislikes, what their hobbies were, what their challenges were, and what their passions were. And in doing that, we could not just go back to the office and construct an estimate for some of the basic things that we were basically putting paint on garage floors. And that was the 90% of our calls were specifically because people wanted to have their garage floor painted. 65% of the work we did was complete garage conversions, and the only way we would be able to do that or sell that was to know that client as if they were a long lost friend or a long time friend. And so at that meeting, the sales guys would really get to know that client. and they could come back to the office, and they could tailor 2 different estimates. One was for the work, the basic work that they had originally called us for. The other estimate was for what we interpreted would help fill gaps or enable them to really thrive or enjoy those things that they were passionate about. And so we would create a whole garage conversion. And we were at a 65% of the work we did was that whole garage conversion, even though they originally called us out just for the garage floor. And there was one experience that we had that really kind of drove this home for me and for us as a company. And one of our sales guys was really good at talking too long and overselling. And he spent way too much time at this client's home, and the client said over and over that his daughter was doing a ballet recital, and he wanted to get to this ballet recital. By the time by the time our agent finally kind of pulled back, the client or potential client was pretty stressed out. And so once Danny returned those calls and tried to get that estimate back in their hands, he wasn't interested, and he didn't return calls, and this went on for several weeks. And so we got together and we were talking about some of those jobs and some of those estimates that were slow to respond or close, and he told me about this experience that he had. And but he also had written lots of notes about this person. And what I was able to do was go back in my office and design in his garage. We designed a corner of the garage for his daughter to do her ballet exercise and to do her ballet practice. And he pushed and he pushed, and he finally got an appointment. He basically just said, we don't expect you to use our services, but we'd like to get this estimate in your hands so you can compare it to the other estimates and at least have a foundation to work from. So finally, the individual conceded and let him come by and deliver the estimate, and he provided him with the first one, and he says, and then we also put this one together, and so we put it together. We drew it up, and we said, here's what it would normally cost, but since potentially we had kind of put you out of your way, here's what we're willing to do it for. And he took one look at that proposal, and he just looked at him and said, when can you start? And that really drove home to us how important it was to really know your client, to know those that you're trying to attract. If you know them, you can give them what they ultimately is going to enrich their life and provide them with a product or a service that they really need.
So that's not only a great story of how to generate more success in sales by listening well to people and by putting your agenda on the back for at least a time so that you can collect the information and help them feel at ease. But it's also an example of how you can rescue a sale that you've trashed, you blew, by the same thing that this man, we can assume, was kind of irritated with you guys and your representative, and therefore the whole company, because he didn't seem to hear the man's needs, which is my need right now is to go to my daughter's recital. It's not to listen to you anymore. He didn't hear it or respond to it appropriately, and so the man, we can assume, decided, I'm not going to do business with that company because of that, not because of anything else. And yet when you were able to remember how important ballet was, at least in that day and in that moment for him, and put it back in, you had a resounding success. So I'm assuming that there was some training that went into your staff to teach them these skills, but the cool thing is you still went back afterwards when somebody dropped the ball and were able to pull it out of the fire. I love that. I didn't expect it at all. So good for you. And
We didn't expect it either. We genuinely didn't expect it.
So you just wanted to set him at ease, perhaps yourself, clean up a mess that you felt like had been made, but did not expect that he would ever buy anything from you at that point, huh?
Right. I mean, we couldn't afford to go in and just do it for free, but at the same time, if we were going to get this contract and if we were going to do that in particular work, we wanted to make sure he could see, what that would cost, and that we were genuinely willing to come in and do something, above and beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually an ongoing problem that the salesperson was having, and it really drove home how important it is to listen, and it helped him, just knowing that this had really upset this person. It helped him in slowing down and taking even more time to listen, because he was probably one of the best listeners, but he's also one of the guys that would just go on too long. And so it was kind of a two-edged sword in that situation. But no, we didn't expect it. I was really pleased when he called me up and said, not only are we doing the floor, he wants us to do that area for his daughter. So,
isn't it wonderful that your salesperson got to see in a really clear way that benefit of, wow, when I listen and actually apply what I hear, I can make the sale, I can save a disaster. And, really, you guys, it's not just sales that we're talking about here. I bet that man, your salesman, learned a lot that helped him in his personal life, in his everyday, interactions with people at the gas station and the dry cleaner or whatever, and people like him better. This is one of the reasons that people don't think they like, anyway, salesmen or salespeople, or they think they don't want to go into sales themselves because they don't want to be perceived as pushy.
Right.
Pushy is I'm not listening to you, I'm telling you. And that's all it is. I mean, we sell people all the time, but how do you do it? Do you sell them in a way that gives them a benefit, gives them a gift, gives them the honor of being heard, or do you sell them by forcing stuff down their throat? And, all of life is sales. You're always trying to convince people of a point of view or an action. And yes, Linda, I hear you. So tell me what you want to say.
Well, really listening is about respect. And, I'm trying to cut in there, which is not.
I know. I just go on and on and on.
But I think it's really important that we listen to people, not just to hear the words, because what happens so many times is in our own heads we're saying, okay, well, what is our response to what's going on? What are we going to be saying next? And you're not really listening.
Exactly.
And, James, I'm really surprised that guy who had to get to that dance recital was so respectful to your salesperson, because a lot of times they'll cut him off and say, I hate to be rude, but I really have to go.
Yeah.
And
I think from what I understood, it kind of got to that point. Where he, when he got in, because he told me when he got in the car, he knew he blew it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I found interesting about that is in your recap of what the client needed, assessing that, building in extra space for his daughter's, dance practice. It's rarely just about price that people buy on. It's about the perceived value.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think it's so interesting that, you came up with something that honors where he's at and allows him to be more family-focused than just solving the immediate solution. And many times we all just go on price because it might cost more to do something special. We take that out of the quote. So by adding it in, I believe you said you had 2 different options. This is what we originally came up with. This is a revised thing. This is where the value add is. So that is an awesome story.
And we did that every estimate. That was one thing that was really important to me, was that because even if we didn't do that big chunk, it was one of the only ways we could say we were listening without saying, hey, I listened, without using those words. So when you can find ways that gets that point across to those potential clients, that you're listening to them, that you understand what they've said, that you've kind of embraced it, and you want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like you said, celebrate that. Whether you get the big, whether you get the big sell or whether you get the normal sell, ultimately it was important to us that our clients knew or understood that we did listen, and that we would continue to listen, that we would continue to. We had clients all the time call us about repair work that they felt was under warranty, and 99% was not under warranty. That didn't mean we wouldn't go do it, because we would go take care of it, and then we would educate them on why that wasn't under warranty. And you would almost catch them catching themselves, because they knew, or they knew that they had damaged it, or they knew that they had messed up, but they were trying to see if they could kind of maybe sort of get this covered. Again, we would take that opportunity to, once we were done with that repair, one of the first things we'd say is, so how have any of your neighbors seen your floor? And inevitably they'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, and is there? We would rarely have to ask, is there anyone in particular? Because they would always say, oh yeah, Joe down the street, he's up here all the time looking at it, walking back and forth. And that would turn into a referral. So even if you have situations where it isn't your fault, you're not liable to take care of it, when you take care of those things for your customers, you open doors to. There were many times when I felt like we were literally, almost guilting our clients into referring more work. That wasn't intentional, but it was important to us to take care of our clients to that level, to where when we walked out of the door, they felt obligated to try and give us a referral.
Yes.
Well, you heard them, and over again you heard them. You have a need for a repair now. That's, from the very beginning, when somebody called you or made an appointment with you or somehow hooked up with you because they thought they wanted their garage floor painted, you heard that, and you let them know you heard it by giving them an estimate for that, but you also gave them another estimate. So it's saying right there, I heard you, I get what you wanted, we know what you wanted, we just wanted to let you know we also heard all this other stuff when we talked to you, and so maybe this is something you might want to look at too. And whether or not they did it, you're telling them twice, bam, bam, we heard you. And so I bet you got a lot of referrals for business, whether or not they even bought from you directly themselves, and you probably also got calls or questions from them about other services that you didn't provide, but they trusted you and liked you and hoped that you might be somebody that could help them with these other issues. And I bet you did as much as you could, even if it meant referring them to someone else. We don't do that, but so-and-so does. And, it builds, so even to this day, I bet, you have friends and contact with people, even though that business hasn't been around for a while.
No, in fact, when I sold the company, as the economy was winding down with this last housing crunch, one of my employees was in the process of becoming a partner. I sold and turned the business over to him, but one of the requirements in that was that he would maintain all of those warranties that were in place. And since we had a system, since we had a process for taking that warranty, which generally wasn't. It was usually damage done by the client, and turning that into an opportunity. And he was very well versed in that. That was a no-brainer. So all of that work that we had done over 3-4 years, I walked away from the business knowing that if anybody had a problem or got upset, he was going to be able to go in and take care of them. But then he was also going to be able to potentially turn that into an opportunity. So these are things that we did kind of. It was kind of, I mean, back then I didn't have a system. It was just, to me, it was just the right way to do business. Those are things, when I say, you know, marketing systems or systems that we implement today, where we go in and we look at someone who's trying to grow their business, and we try to isolate how they can differentiate themselves by listening and by doing those things that other people just aren't willing to do in order to secure that those clients, that business.
Well, it's just what Linda was saying at our last week's recording. You know, when somebody comes to her and asks her about a website, I need a website, and her response is, well, tell me why. Tell me what you're thinking a website's going to do for you. Talk to me and tell me more. And she's listening to that and then determining if her services are exactly the right fit. And people often do not know what they need or what they want or what's attainable or what's even, you know, something that they might get. And you did it with the garages. The guy was not thinking about, I'm going to set up a practice area for my daughter in the garage, and maybe didn't think that it was affordable to do a makeover. But once he got all of his stuff out and you guys could process it for him and say, hey, how about this? He could see that it was possible, and he could see that he wanted it, and you helped him. He liked it. It made him happy. It wasn't a sale that wrecked his life. You know, this is something that people, you know, they hear these things and they say, oh, you're manipulating me. Well, am I really? If you are getting something that you really want out of it, you just haven't been able to articulate it before. And that's the same thing that Linda does with her, you know, helping them see, do you really want a website? Why do you want a website? What is it you want it to do for you? And then finding out, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually a really good fit, and this is why. And the person comes away feeling good instead of feeling like, I bought something, I hope it's going to do what I thought it might do, and I hope they do and turn out to be the kind of people that I want to do business with again. They know that. Even if they don't buy, they know that when they work with you guys, that, okay, this person's going to listen. And, you know, as I said in the beginning, I think we all are dying to be heard. Maybe some of us more than others. Sometimes people, when I ask a question, are so taken aback by, wow, they're just not even used to anybody trying to hear them, and that's why I say it's such a gift that you can give them. And if it's business or if it's personal, it's all the same. This is your life. Your life is not this segment, this segment, this segment. You become a good listener, it's your whole life that's going to benefit from it. That's what I believe. Do you have any skills or ideas or tips on how to be a better listener, either one of you? Something you would like to throw out there? Linda, I know you're behind us.
I just think it's so important that when a customer tells you, I need this, that you don't just take their word from it. It's like somebody going into that doctor and saying, doctor, I need a pill for this. Well,
yeah.
You don't listen to that doctor, and that doctor doesn't take the time to understand, you know, all of the situation. You're not going to get the right prescription. And so many times when people come into me, oh, I just need this. Well, that's great. I can build that for you, but what's going to happen as your business grows? What's going to happen in a year? What's going to happen in 5 years? We're going to have to throw everything out and start from scratch, or are we going to build something for you that's going to be modular and it's going to grow as your business grows? So without understanding what the big picture is, the long-term results,
Right.
It's really difficult to understand if you're delivering the right solution to that client. Just because they asked for something does not mean they're fully aware of all the marketing implications of that, and giving them just what they asked for, you know, it's right to give them what they asked for, but it's wrong if you don't present an alternate solution for that.
Right. No, something that, you know, from that educated perspective that you know is going, like you said, it's going to last longer. It's going to provide. It's going to fill more needs as they go forward.
Yes, and for both of you, I mean, it sounds like, though you're not coming right out and saying it, that part of it is taking the time to ask questions, listen to the answer, ask another question, listen to the answer, and you know the next question. The questions are based on the answers that you've heard. So I need a website. Well, tell me more about that. Well, I have this book I'm trying to sell. Okay, and when you sell your book, what will that mean? So your questions are based on the answers that you've heard, and the only way you can develop that question is if you listen to what they said. If you just have your script of questions that you must ask, then you're not going to get to where the real meat is, where the issue really is. Just like the doctor, I love that doctor, because we've all had the experience of going to a doctor that doesn't ask questions, doesn't.
Biggest bang for your buck as a consumer is to let the salesperson know everything that you want, not just tell them what they want. I just think bottom line that is so important that they're listening to you and they're delivering what you need, not necessarily what you're requesting.
Right.
So if you're a consumer, what would be a good way, do you have any, for them to to do a check to find out if someone's listening to you or not? Got any ideas? Because
you said something earlier that really, and I can't remember if it's Linda or you said it, Sarah. 90% of the people are listening so they know what to say next.
They're planning their response.
Right, and when you are planning your response, you're not listening, and I think, honestly, I'm sensitive to that. And if I'm talking to somebody and that's what they're doing, happens with my daughter a lot. I think people are really sensitive to that, and they pick up on that really fast. So if you're not genuinely listening, I think 9 times out of 10, the person on the other end is feeling that.
Mm-hmm. So I would throw in there then, if you are a person who cares and wants people to be heard, if you can't listen right now for whatever reason, tell them, you know what, I'm distracted because I'm worrying about my daughter's ballet thing and I can't hear you, I can't listen well, or, you know, let me just turn off the TV so I can give you my full attention, or vice versa, I have to watch the rest of this football game because it just means so much to me, so can we talk afterwards? Instead of pretending that you're listening when you're not, it's not listening, it's just being there. And another thing I would throw at you, all of you gazillions of viewers, is a question that I heard from a friend of all of ours, a CEO space instructor named Bill Sturley, who is just a fabulous communication expert. And we were talking about listening and how important it is. And for some of us, this is a need that's higher than for others. And I think perhaps depends on how well you felt you were listened to as a kid. But maybe it's not just that. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. But he has a question that he uses, which is, would you be willing to tell me what you heard me say? And he uses this, and it's a fabulous question, when he has the need to feel like he was heard, and he's interacting with someone like you were just perhaps describing, James, someone who appears to not really be getting it for whatever reason. And it pulls the conversation back to, hey, did you hear me? You know, but in another way, would you be willing to tell me what you heard me say? So that they have to repeat it back. And, you know, sometimes that can be kind of uncomfortable when you're parroted word for word, but sometimes it really is impactful. They heard me, I know, because they just said it back to me. And the relief that you can feel and the ability to continue to interact then with whoever is palpable. You know, okay, they did hear me. Yes, that's exactly what I said. Thank God, someone heard me. Sometimes we really, really need that, and if we aren't getting it, there's not a lot of communication that's actually happening. So that's my tidbit. Any others? We have like 2 more minutes.
Well, you know, Sarah, I think it's the interaction. I hate when people just listen to me. I personally find myself at the point of active engagement, and that is really the best dialogue. It's not just sitting back listening to someone until they're done and then coming up with something, because you know what? You're going to keep it moving in the right direction by interacting with them. So I think we've got to strike a balance there. When we're in a position of listening, are we listening because we are the expert and we can help provide information, versus are we listening because someone just needs to speak and to get it out?
Well, there's all sorts of different, yeah. Are you venting, or are you asking me for some advice?
Right.
Interesting to ask. Yeah, and keeping it going with the uh-huhs and tell me more, and is that all, or is there something else to encourage them to get it all out, if that's the case, and to let them know that, yeah, I'm still here. You know, even if all you're doing is not in your head, they know that you're still there, because otherwise you could be looking at them but not paying any attention at all anymore. Great. So we're going to wind it up. It's another Monday Momentum over just like that. Happy Memorial Day again. Let's go dancing now. Why don't you sign out, James? Pass it to Linda, and then I'll say goodbye.
Have an awesome week, everybody. James at See Me Space, and I'm ready. I'm ready for the week. I hope you are too.
Well, Linda Kay here, and if I can listen to you and find out what you need for a website, we can build an awesome project together. So Linda at lindakay.com.
Great. Thank you, Linda. And I'm Sarah Coolidge. I work with CEO Space, and we help businesses grow faster by listening to what it is you are doing now and what it is you would like to be doing, and how can we close that gap quickly and at less expense. So if you are interested in finding out more about that, just check me out at ceospacewest.com. Have a fabulous week, a fabulous Memorial Day. Go out there, I challenge you, and listen a little bit more carefully before you speak. You know, the whole story about 2 ears and only 1 mouth. There's a reason for that. And you will find better relationships, more fun, more love in your life if you just take a little bit of a minute to listen a little more carefully and let them know that you're hearing them. If you need to work on it more, then work on it more, because you will be really, really glad that you did. So we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Hasta la vista.